Welcome back to the channel. So lately, I've been really interested in birds. Honestly, I'm into a lot of like ancient mythologies. I'm into ancient cultures, native cultures, and birds are big. Birds are very big in mythology. Some have bad omens. Some, are signs of good fortune, good luck, just different things. I've had a lot of cardinals coming around me for like this since last year. I want to say I like ravens, crows, hawks, eagles, all that good stuff. So with that being said, we're gonna get into this. This is five North American birds that have accidentally flown to the UK. This is a post by Suki. Original link will be in the description. And with that being said, what's smoking on my dragons? Divine righteous, almighty, great, overachieving, never slacking. Here we go.
If you live in the UK, you might have come across a strange story in the news this week. Hundreds of people headed towards one of the smallest islands in the Isles of Scilly, and this was all to see a rare bird. This wasn't a large bird of prey or a tropical bird, but was instead the Blackburnian warbler. Now in the US, this bird is relatively common and tends to breed in North America and then winter in South America. This bird is obviously not native to Britain and must have gone the complete wrong way while migrating. There are of course birds that can be found both in the UK and in North America, but there are also plenty of birds that get lost and end up flying in the completely wrong direction. This can be because of a whole host of reasons, such as approaching storms and an error in the bird's inner navigational system. This usually only happens to juvenile birds, and this is most commonly on their first migration. In some cases, birds can become stowaways on large ships, and this means that they can get transported across the Atlantic without flying. Although this bird's appearance in the UK is a rarity, there are also plenty of other North American birds that accidentally find their way to the UK. In this video, I'll be covering just a few of these examples, as I will be going through 5 North American birds that have accidentally flown to the UK. And our first species can be found across almost all of North America, and it is the belted kingfisher. And this bird is one of 6 American water kingfishers, and as its name may suggest, it is an expert fish hunter. Its closest relative is the ringed kingfisher, and both of these birds do look very similar to each other. Like many other members of its family, they can often be seen patrolling up and down rivers and shorelines, and they tend to nest in burrows along earth banks, as well as feeding on a wide variety of fish. These kingfishers are also known to be fond of crustaceans. To help them deal with these hard to digest food items, they have highly acidic stomachs, and this helps them to digest bones, fish scales, and arthropod shells. Most birds exhibit some form of sexual dimorphism. In most cases, the male is more brightly coloured than the female, and the females do tend to be quite dull. The belted kingfisher reverses this rule, as the females tend to be more brightly coloured than the males, and often have a tinge of orange to their feathers. Some belted kingfishers stay in North America year-round, and they do breed in the US and Canada, but these kingfishers are known to be wanderers, and will travel as far as the Galapagos Islands, Hawaii, Greenland, and Iceland. As well as this, one individual took a very long trip, all the way up to Preston in northern England. It was spotted in a nature reserve earlier this year, and is thought to be only one of 5 belted kingfishers.
Could you imagine just having wings, and just being able to fly? No passport needed, nothing, just nothing. No, gas, like any of that. No engine, just being able to get up and just fly. Man, that would be incredible.
That have made their way to the UK. Of course, Britain has its own kingfisher, but the belted kingfisher is a lot larger, and in some cases can be double the size of our native kingfisher. The famous individual spent a few months in Preston, but after this it soon disappeared, and it's unknown exactly what happened to it. So even though this bird wasn't planning to make it to the UK, to many people it was a very welcome guest. But for our next species, we can head to the eastern United States, as we have the Baltimore Oriole. This small bird has a very striking and beautiful coloration, and even though
that is so beautiful, like Pittsburgh would love that with that color. That fits in with the Steelers right there.
Females are a little more muted, they still have a splash of colour to them. Now, as I'm sure many of you know, this bird isn't only found in Baltimore. In fact, its name dates back to the 1700s, where the people of Virginia and Maryland called this species the Baltimore bird. This is because the males are orange and black, and these were the colours of Lord Baltimore. Like most other birds, these birds have a taste for insects, but the Baltimore Oriole also has a sweet tooth. They really enjoy the taste of fruits, and one of the best ways to attract them to your garden is to leave out some oranges or some watermelon. Although these birds can be found in North America throughout most of the year, they do tend to go south during the winter. They usually head down to Central and South America, and this is because the weather is so much warmer. But strangely, back in the winter of 2007, one unfortunate Baltimore Oriole made its way to the top of northern Scotland. As you might be able to tell, this is the completely wrong way, and this bird made a very costly mistake. There's a few sightings of this bird in gardens, and it really does look out of place in the Scottish Highlands. Unfortunately, the bird didn't have long to live, and disappeared soon after these sightings. So even though this story has a tragic end, I'm sure the sight of this bird made quite a few people happy. But
Hopefully it just found a portal and went to somewhere else. Somewhere better even.
for our next species, once again we can head to the eastern United States, as we have the rose-breasted grosbeak. Now once again this species displays some sexual dimorphism, with the females being a lot more muted than the males. The males are sometimes known as cutthroats, simply because of the red coloration on their chest. These cute little birds are monogamous, and both the male and the female will build nests together. These nests often look very flimsy and weak, but they will eventually cradle some very beautiful speckledy eggs. These birds are known to be strong endurance flyers, and they can sometimes be found in flocks of up to 50 birds. This gives them safety in numbers, as they are targeted by a few birds of prey, such as Cooper's hawk and the sharp-shinned hawk. These birds once again tend to migrate in the winter, and head south towards Central America. But once again, in the winter of 2012, one of these beautiful birds accidentally made its way to the UK. It was another bird that found its way to the Isles of Scilly, but this time it was found on St. Mary's Island. Although this visit may seem strange at first, as it's gone the completely wrong way, this bird makes its way to the UK more often than you might think. The first one made its way to the British Isles around 60 years ago, and it's thought that around 35 to 40 have made their way here. This means that if you're lucky you might be able to find one in the UK, and it turns out the Isles of Scilly are a great place to live if you're a bird watcher. But for our next species, we can once again head to the eastern United States, as we have the scarlet tanager. Now, as you can probably guess from this bird's name, it is a very striking red colour, and is one of the most beautiful songbirds in North America. This species also breaks the rules slightly, because the females are equally as beautiful as the males. They are a completely different colour, and even though their colouring is not as loud as the males, they are equally beautiful. Although this colourful bird is listed as least concern, they do face many threats in the wild. Exposure and starvation can kill many of these birds, especially when the weather is very cold or wet. Many also die from collisions with man-made objects, such as radio towers, buildings, and cars. One study showed that 69 to 78% of their nests were preyed upon, with blue jays, common grackles, American crows, and of course cats feeding on them. But luckily, because they have such a large population today, their numbers are still quite healthy, and they'll be around for quite a long time to come. Now, like most of the other birds on this list, these birds do like to migrate south. But once again, in 2014, one of these birds went completely the wrong way, and ended up on a remote island in Scotland. Before this trip, it had been spotted in the UK and Ireland 10 times before, but it was still a shock when it appeared. This created a mini tourism boom on the island, but as is the story with many of the other birds on this list, it soon disappeared, never to be seen again. So at this point you might think the birds are flying to the UK on purpose, because they really are celebrities when they land here. But for our final species, you can head to pretty much anywhere in North America, as we have the American robin. Now, this bird is a migratory bird of the true thrush genus. Although it is a very American bird, it was originally named after the European robin. These two birds both have red breasts, but the American robin is much larger. The American robin is the most abundant bird in North America, as there's thought to be around 370 million individuals. This number is higher than the number of people in the United States, so this is a very impressive number. But it would seem that one of these birds decided to fly to the UK to find the bird that it was named after. That's because in February of this year, one American robin was spotted in Sussex. This led to hundreds of people flocking to Eastbourne just to catch a glimpse of this bird. It was finding food and shelter alongside the local blackbirds and thrushes, and didn't really seem that out of place. Seeing this bird in the UK may seem quite strange, but it happens more than you might think, as they show up in the UK every 5 years or so. And even though this bird is named after the European robin, it really is its own bird. If you know of any other birds that could have made it on this list, then let me know down in the comments below. But thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed. If you liked it, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like these. But until next time, goodbye.
People in the UK really do like their birds. And I say that because for people to just be coming out like that in crowds, to take pictures and to be so excited. I mean, it is a breath of fresh air to see that that at least in the UK they still honor nature so much. Not to say people in the US don't, but you don't really hear about people coming in crowds to, yeah. I don't know. Like, so much is this. I feel like if something new was discovered, like something like, oh, new birds downtown, like, I don't know if people would really flock to that. I think people are just too kind of like into their phones or whatever's going on. But shout out to the UK for showing love to the birds, man. All of them are beautiful. All of them, every single one of them. And to fly over to the UK, that's a journey. That's a journey. Maybe there's a portal we don't know about, Who knows? But with that being said, that was 5 North American birds that have accidentally flown into the UK. Original link in the description, and I'll be back with more soon. Much love.